world focused on the individual, this podcast aims to shine a light on the remarkable spirit of humanity. We're dedicated to bringing you the inspiring conversations with exceptional organizations and individuals devoted to creating a better world. Welcome to the Lighthouse Keepers Podcast.
Welcome back to the Lighthouse Keepers Podcast. I'm your host, Mary Ellen Sherlock, and I'm very excited today to have our guest, Kelly Bennett, joining us here. I know you may think we are filming this from Santa's workshop in the North Pole. You're not. We are actually here at a book place in Riverhead, thanks to our very good friend over there, Jocelyn. She's been on our podcast. We've actually come here on her anniversary back in July. We're very grateful because this is such a wonderful place to be at this time of year. And we're talking to a wonderful young lady here who's actually done more than 25 award-winning books. So help me in welcoming Kelly Bennett. Kelly, thanks so much for being part of this today. So I know I talked to a lot of people when we have discussions, and I guess my biggest question to you is, did you always want to be a writer? Is this something you're like, I always sought out to do that? I always either liked to write or I loved books. Was that always a passion of yours?
Now that's a multi-level question because I started out as a storyteller. They tell me the first thing I ever did was talk, and I didn't just do gaga goo goo. I did big sentences.
Nice.
And this is so fun because two old ladies live next door to me. We lived in a duplex. I had a single mom. And they would invite me over for tea, which was a little Coke, which I don't like, Coca-Cola. And they would sit there and talk to me for hours. And then my mom would finally come and get me. And I say that because I think people liked listening to me. They made me think that my stories were good and worth listening to.
Right.
And I think that is the core of being a writer.
That's the seed that started to germinate at that time, I guess, right?
Exactly. It's like somebody, so many people don't think anybody wants to hear their stories.
Yes.
That was a gift, those ladies. But I never thought I was going to be a writer.
Right.
In school, thank you, teachers. My teachers praised me for my writing, and so then in school I would write more. If people had, I'm not the best artist. I am not a builder, although I try really hard. But
You stay in your lane, Kelly.
build things with words. And so if I had a choice, I would choose to write.
Right.
However, it was not until I became a mom, and I've always been a huge reader.
Right.
Now, I'm old. We had about 2 books. I
say
had
what?
one
It's
book
not
at
old.
home.
Yeah.
And we had the bookmobile that would come to school on Wednesdays, and you could take one book out. And fortunately, the bookmobile librarian would save books for me. So you'd read one book for a week, which meant over and over and over. But I loved books, and I loved reading. And I think I read for escape, had a lot of quiet time. We had a quiet family. Small, just me and my brother and my mom. So I've always been a reader, but when I became a mom, this is funny, I had 2 little kids, 2 and 4 years old, and I was in my mid-20s. I was in a really yucky marriage and had left my husband. This is like true confessions. This is my friend Mary Ellen. We knew each other before.
I'm telling you, this is the authenticity is what we're going for here, because I do think that whenever you start to tell your story, it resonates with other people. So
that is
I
what
appreciate
stories
that.
are.
Yes.
It's
yes.
I had gone home to my kids thinking that the marriage was over. And then we said, well, let's give it another try. And I said, well, if I'm going to go back to a not good marriage and a not good place to live and make this happen, I'm going to go back to school and take a class I want to take. Well, I'm from California. In California, I played volleyball. I was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so I went and I got the community college catalog looking for a volleyball class. They didn't have volleyball back then in Oklahoma.
No kidding.
They did not have community college volleyball.
Oklahoma.
But they have now.
They do.
But I turned the page to a class on writing and marketing your children's stories. That was 45 years ago.
Wow.
And it was taught by the editor of the newspaper, the Tulsa World, Sally Bright. I got in there, and what people don't know is a picture book is a puzzle. It's like a piece of art. You know how an art on your wall, it's two-dimensional, it's however big your canvas is, but what you do with it is up to you.
Yes.
And you sort of puzzle how you can get your story in there. That was the beginning. And that is when I got into that class and said, this is what I want to do.
So something just clicked, something led you to that, maybe volleyball. And now,
Which balls are bouncing to get me there? I know.
that's the next book, I guess, volleyball. But that's really like, that was the diving board that set me on a path, Mary Ellen, that I didn't even know at the time. This is now going to be a full career. You travel all over the country, all over the world, to read these books to children. And if somebody were to ask you, you know, did you see yourself doing that? You were like, absolutely not. That was not what I envisioned. And now that that's manifested, I think the reason why you are so perfect for this podcast is it's not just the creation of the book. It's you're finding your Kelly Bennett's along the way. I'm going to inspire you. I didn't see myself doing it, but I'm telling you, you can do it as well. I think you said to me once, everybody has a story in them.
That's exactly. It is, and little kids, they need to tell their stories. Maybe they don't have all the words. Maybe they have the pictures.
Right.
And also when I go to schools especially, I tell them, you know, do any of you like story? Do you tell stories? Of course, they all tell stories because they're talking a mile a minute.
Yes.
How do you like to write them down? And about half will come up.
Right.
And then it's like, well, how many of you draw and tell your stories through your pictures?
Yes.
Or tell your stories for whatever you're making.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing, is the only story we have is not written. We tell our stories in a lot of different ways. In songs, through our
sure.
art, through
Dance.
building,
Yeah,
dancing.
Sure. Yeah.
And that, it's, and so people might say your creativity, but really it is, how do I tell
You
what
express
I
yourself.
want to share with the world?
You know, we're not old, we're seasoned. But I remember a
And it's
time.
winter.
Yes, I do remember, like, there are people like us who say that was a really special time when we weren't attached to phones and your mom and dad were like, go out and play, and you know, you knew you had to be home before 5 and dinner and stuff like that. Maybe not the safest, and the world's been crazier, but I do think that we were expressing yourself using your creativity was the thing that made your friends be like, oh, get him. He knows exactly how to do the Planet of the Apes thing. Or let's get her, because they know exactly, like, all right, you're going to be the mother, you're going to be the father, you're the next door neighbor. There was always some director of play.
There you go, little director.
Yes, and that was really the fun part of finding the people that you play with. And it really gave children a chance to explore that creativity. But now that's what you do when you go to visit schools and programs, is kind of pull that creativity out of those children. You said the best part of what I do, Mary Ellen, is encouraging those kids to keep that creativity going. You know, it's not watching somebody else on social media and them telling you, hey, what a great life I have. You create your own life. You write about your own life. You sing your own life. And I'm just interested in any success stories that you may have had that you like, I saw the spark go off in that little pickle's eyes when I, you know, got him going on a story.
Oh, well, you know, every age person. First of all, it's allowing yourself, the one thing, you know, when you were talking about us playing, part of it is being bored.
Yeah.
And we used to have a lot of time to be bored.
Yes.
And in being bored is when you go inside and, oh my gosh, I can remember, you know, we'd play with anything. You'd be out there.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
Like, suddenly a walnut is a ball and a stick is at a golf club, and
Yes,
we're Babe
yes.
Ruth on the
Yes.
playing field. When often I'll play this game with kids in a big, huge auditorium. I play the what if game. And I'll talk to the kids and say, you know, I have to write all the time. I'm a writer. I write every single day, even today. Even today when you and I are here, I will go home and write. I only commit to 7 minutes a day. 5 is too short and 10 minutes is too long, but 7 minutes, anybody can do pretty much anything in 7 minutes.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot for any writer, is do a little bit. And with the little kids, I'll say, sometimes my brain is empty. Is your brain ever empty?
Right.
Well, then I'll play the what if game.
Right.
So you close your eyes and you empty your head and you just say, what if?
Right.
Over and over, and I'll do it. I'm not going to do it 4 or 7 times. What if, what if, what if? Now open your eyes. Did anything pop in your head? And and then they'll pop up with a little what if, like what if, whatever. And I'll say, okay, so now add a so what, because it's all about so what difference does that make?
Right.
And we'll build a story that way. The next time I do that, everybody's quiet. Everybody's concentrating,
Yes.
and the hands are flying, and then we're building stories together, and they'll leave, and the teachers will come back and say, I've used that so often, and the kids have used it, because it's a way to actually validate your own story,
Yes.
but also realize that you just start with one little thing and then make it bigger. And the biggest thing is, so what difference does it make? How is it different? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? Is it scarier? Why did that idea come in your head? And also use your own voice.
Yes.
And one little kid, this was pre-K or 5, he raised his hand and he said, well, isn't it hard to write? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's hard, but it's fun. And he's like, no, it's hard to write. And then he did his hand, and I realized what he was talking about was actually doing the letters.
It's not the idea, the story that's there. It's the actual physical
He couldn't get
writing.
it down.
Yes.
So what I was encouraging people to do is, we have those little smartphones, and they
Yes.
have recorders.
Yes.
Let your child tell the story. Record it.
Yes.
And then the adult who's with you, or the teacher, or grandma or auntie, then you type it or write it down, and they can see their story.
Right.
And that is something some teachers already do, but first encourage that verbal or that visual storyteller.
How much do you think people or children, I'll go with children, but I mean, children eventually grow up to be adults. I know that's simple math, but if you don't have the confidence to tell a story, how does creativity help you become a more confident storyteller? Like I've been approached by people who said, you know what, my stories aren't original. I have nothing, look at all the books around this beautiful bookstore. Well, why is anybody pick? And I think sometimes the writing of the book is your story. When you're writing because it's a story that's important to you, not that it's going to, and I think that's the difference between people that are like, I know I want to print it for me. I mean, something that's important to me. Is that your experience with these, every person that you talk to, young, old, teenagers, how do you get them to be like, it's okay, you're too worried about your audience?
Well, come on. We're in this glorious bookstore,
right.
And I'm looking around here and I'm saying, oh my word. With all of the stories here, how can I add to the canon? What do I have to say that's any different?
Yes.
Or any better, or has been said a million times?
Yes.
We all have that. It's the biggest block to writers' fear, and every writer has writer's block.
Now you know why
Every
she's here
writer.
today, guys. We're going to debunk. Kelly Bennett is going to have you all writing your story.
Let's hope.
It's,
but the difference is, I'm going to go back to first thing is, most people try to write too much. They write, and they want to write too long a time, and they want it to come out really good. Revising is the secret to writing.
Right.
But here's the biggest deal. If you want to write something, you have to pick your audience, and you said it. If I want to tell a story, I pick one person to tell that story to. Because if I'm going to tell a story to the world, I'll come out like this, and I'm going to be really important, and I want to use my reporter voice, and I want to sound articulate, and it is boring as anything. But now think about the same story. think about if you wanted to tell that to a 3-year-old. You're going to use different words.
Yes.
You'll use a different description.
Yes.
You'll refer to different things. And when you see their eyes glassing over, you'll use a pop or a whiz or something to get them going.
Yes, yes.
We'll do the same thing if you want to tell your girlfriend a story.
Yes.
Now, think back with your old flames.
Yes.
If you're going to tell your mom what happened on that date, remember what you tell your mom?
Right.
But now, what did you tell your best friend?
Right. Very different story.
And what was that language
Yes,
like?
yes.
And that's where the best writing comes, and it is all about who you're telling the story to. And so I would encourage people, start with little snippets, make a list, because and I do a lot of coaching with the same thing with children as I do with adults. And I know there are a lot of people out here that are adults of all ages that want to tell their story.
Yes.
Make a list of significant dates to yourself. Like, just sit there one day and say, brainstorm. You can do it by saying years. You know, well, look at us, 1925. Good place to start. Think back on moments that I take a piece of paper and I fold it up into 7. Start with a little skinny column and think of like 8 things that in 2025 stuck out in your head.
Right, yeah,
Whatever they are.
Yes.
Just brainstorm, brain dump. And then leave it alone, and the next day, look at that column and write a word corresponding to it in the next column where you're amplifying. Maybe a sound or a feeling or a memory or a person, and keep doing that about one memory.
Right.
I call it the story in 7 days trick, because if you take one memory, like say your 3rd birthday or your 20th birthday or your 8th birthday, you remember one little snippet, and then you'll remember the colors, and then you'll remember maybe the presents you got, and then you'll remember when you went in the bedroom because your mom asked for something, and all of a sudden you saw your presents unwrapped on the bed. And then maybe you remember that something there was a little fake cash register that you thought was going to be your prize, and you couldn't wait to get it when you open it, and you never opened it at the end of your party.
Right. And that's a story.
And then what happened?
Yeah.
But by linking those little memories and letting your subconscious go,
Right.
you'll just keep adding more and more and more. And I think that's the start there.
Are you ever fascinated by the books that you read to the kids? You're like, I don't know who this is going to resonate with. I don't know who's this is going to appeal to, but dagnabbit, it's always a handful. Yeah, and you're always surprised. You never get a glossed over look like, I don't get it. I don't know what this lady's. Every single time, whatever book you're reading, 9 times out of 10, you've evoked. Because I do believe, I think you share the sentiment, a book evokes a feeling, evokes a response, evokes a memory. And that's the human connection, I think. That's why stories, everybody loves a story. You know, you meet somebody at a party, hey, what's your story? You know, it's funny that we say that, but I do think that that's part of why you are such an amazing guest to talk to, because not only is your life purpose to write these books and share them, you've made it a point to make sure I want to help go out there and incite and encourage other people, big, little, small, teenagers, retirees. There's a book in you, and you can do it.
And there's a story in you.
There's a story in you.
And it's maybe more important to know your own story. Some people choose to share them.
Yes.
Some people choose to write them down and keep them in their pocket forever, and
sure.
some don't want to share them. That's a different story. But there we go, stories all over. It's a different thing whether you choose. The difference between a writer and his author is an author decides, I want my stories to be published. I want other people to read them. Writers are writers.
Yes.
But the most fun thing about a picture book is a toy. This, for you people holding these books on your hand, the reason they're this big is because they're not easy for little kids to hold on to. And when you are sharing a book with a child, you are sharing emotional education with them. you're the laugh track, you're the cry track,
Sure.
you're the gasp track,
Yes.
you're the scary track.
Yeah.
So you are actually teaching children social emotional learning through the book.
Just by reading a storybook.
And
Yeah.
what's really cool is no matter what kind of a learner a child is or an adult is, there are different levels in a book. If they're a visual learner, they're looking at the pictures.
Sure,
If
sure.
they're an oral learner, they're hearing you read it.
Yeah.
If they're a visual learner, they're looking at the words.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, one of those is going to get them. And if nothing else, they're getting the feeling of you sharing your feelings. So we're feeling learners.
Right. Very interesting that you said that, because I used to read. You get some of the schools have the mystery reader, and apparently I didn't have my tempo right, and I'm reading the story. I go to turn the page, and the kid, the two hands come up like, we're not done looking at the pictures. This broad's going too fast. You know what I mean? Slow it down. So they literally, by looking at those pictures, they're in their own mind coming up with their own. The words help, but they've got their own vision of what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, very important. I mean, obviously, I could sit here and talk to you all day.
So fun.
What is the number one children's book that just, if somebody said, Kelly, number one kids, this is the book I would give as a gift. It's the first gift I gave to my children, my grandchildren. I can only pick one?
There is only
less
one.
than a dozen?
There's only one,
Really?
and it is the book that is on the top of the 100 best children's books of all time list forever, and it's Where the Wild Things Are. And it's Maurice Sendak.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
It is the quintessential hero's journey, for one thing. And if you study story at all, we're all on our own journey, and we're all should be the hero of our own story.
Right.
And Where the Wild Things Are is this little boy.
Max.
It's truly like 3 sentences. Well, first of all, my son's name is Max. So when he was born, we had about 40 copies.
Exactly.
I mean, we read it. He thought that book was made for him.
There's a movie deal coming for me, Mom. I just know it. I'm hanging on.
Mom, Max.
But
it starts so simply. When Max made mischief of one kind or another.
Yes.
And then he goes on and he conquers those monsters. For anybody who doesn't know, Sendak, the monsters in his book were those big aunties and uncles and relatives that came with their big heads towering over him with, as he said, with their long yellow teeth and their long claws saying, "Aren't you cute?" Wanting to pinch your cheek. Which is hysterical for me. But he is the hero of his own story. He conquers the monsters, and then he decides he wants to be home where someone loves him most of all. Yeah. When you were talking about the heart of a story, a good picture book. There are a lot of picture books that are concepts out there, and we love them. The concept of a car or a color or a season, but the ones that stick with us are the ones that have a little heart thing, and they are also how children navigate the world. They're teaching a child how to make their way in the world.
Right. Yeah.
So you don't. So there's a little something that, if it's well written, it's not obvious.
Yeah. There's always a little bit of an underlying message in there that they may not hear that at the time, but the story stays with them. And the more and more, that's the beautiful thing about a book. You can read it, every night. And lo and behold, that story stays with you, and something clicks, a light bulb goes off. Or he's in a certain circumstance and he's like, that's exactly what Max did. So the resonance is there, the connection is there.
Exactly.
It just tracks with them. Kelly, I am literally, Jocelyn, we may never leave. This has been such a pleasure having you here today. I promise there's so much more we can talk about, and I hope you'll come back to the podcast. But can you tell our viewers, if they want to connect with you, hey, this lady's fantastic. I'd love for her to come to our school. Can you let them know how they can contact you and reach you to get more of Kelly Bennett?
Oh, sweet. Well, first of all, thanks. Thanks, Mary
My
Ellen.
pleasure.
So much fun.
My
and
pleasure.
Thanks all of you for paying attention. My name's Kelly Bennett. You can find me on my website, kellybennett.com. You'll also find all of my books listed and a lot of activity guides and teaching guides, so you can do print out the sheets and play with the kids and have a good time. And along, I have a motto is I write books that celebrate all that goes into being a kid and baseball. So I also, look, as I knock everything over, let's keep baseball up because Out of the Mouth of Babe is my newest book, and it is vintage photos and inspirational quotes by Babe Ruth on succeeding, hitting, pitching, striking out, coming back swinging. And that's what we need to do, come back swinging. And thanks for having me
Kelly,
here.
thank you. I just got to give a shout out to Jocelyn and the wonderful book place here in Riverhead, Long Island, New York. Listen, guys, 2 weeks before Christmas, you can never go wrong with a book. You don't need to worry about sizes. You don't need to worry about anything. Doesn't come in big boxes. Very, very little wrapping paper. There's also so many artisans and gift makers that are here. Please come down and support Jocelyn because she enables us to be here with her. And by the way, she doesn't know we might be moving in. So thank you so much, guys. We look forward to seeing you next time. Kelly, as always.
So fun. Thanks.
What a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye. This is fun.